For years, the West has underestimated China, believing it would remain a secondary power. But while military strength and trade wars dominate headlines, China has been quietly expanding its influence through economic control, cultural ties, and strategic diplomacy. From Southeast Asia's Chinese business elites to the Belt and Road Initiative, Beijing is reshaping global power without firing a single shot. Ignoring this reality is a dangerous mistake, and in this video, we're exposing the hidden dangers of underestimating China. China's soft power strategy is one of its most underappreciated strengths, and its ethnically Chinese diaspora across Asia plays a crucial role in its geopolitical and economic rise. While military power and trade deals often dominate discussions of China's influence, its cultural, economic, and political connections with overseas Chinese communities in Southeast Asia have given it a built-in advantage that Western nations cannot replicate. Across Asia, countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, and Myanmar have large ethnic Chinese populations that make up a significant portion of their economic elite. Although these communities are minorities in most of these nations, they often dominate key industries, including banking, real estate, technology, and trade. In Indonesia, for example, ethnic Chinese make up only 1 to 2% of the population, but control nearly 70% of the country's economy through ownership of major businesses, retail chains, and manufacturing hubs. In Malaysia, the ethnic Chinese community, about 22% of the population, holds a dominant position in commerce, property development, and finance. Singapore, which has an ethnic Chinese majority, around 75% of the population, serves as a natural economic and cultural bridge between China and the rest of the world. Meanwhile, in Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines, ethnic Chinese families have historically played a major role in business, politics, and media, influencing national policies in ways that align with Beijing's interests. This widespread economic dominance means that Chinese businesses, banks, and trade agreements already have deep local support, giving China an unparalleled advantage in securing investment opportunities, infrastructure projects, and favorable trade policies across Southeast Asia. China doesn't need to impose its will militarily on these countries. It simply works through ethnic Chinese business leaders, investors, and trade groups to push its agenda. This is an advantage that Western powers cannot match, as they lack the cultural and familial connections that China has cultivated over centuries. Many ethnic Chinese business owners in Southeast Asia prefer doing business with China over Western nations due to cultural ties, language familiarity, and better financing options. This allows China to secure massive trade deals and infrastructure projects under initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Beijing also exerts political influence by working through ethnic Chinese business elites, political donors, and lobbying groups to push policies that favor China's interests, particularly in Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia, where Chinese-funded infrastructure projects and trade partnerships have led to increasingly pro-China government stances. In addition, Chinese language media is widely consumed in countries like Singapore and Malaysia, allowing China to shape public opinion and counter Western narratives through state-backed Chinese news outlets. By ensuring that ethnic Chinese business elites remain reliant on China for trade and investment, Beijing guarantees that any political shift against China would come at a severe economic cost to these nations, forcing their governments to tread carefully when considering Western-aligned policies that might anger China. China is also dominating the global entertainment industry, particularly gaming and animation. Companies like Tencent and NetEase have secured major stakes in Western gaming franchises, owning significant portions of League of Legends, Clash of Clans, PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile, and Genshin Impact. Meanwhile, China's animation industry is catching up to Japan, with studios such as Bilibili, Howlner's Animation, and Tencent Pictures creating anime-style content that rivals traditional Japanese studios. Unlike the West, which faces severe labor shortages due to declining birth rates, China has a surplus of workers from its poorer provinces who are readily available to replace retiring employees. While countries like the US, Germany, and Japan struggle with shrinking populations, China can mobilize millions of workers to fuel its growth. This advantage is evident in construction, where cities like Shenzhen, Chongqing, and Hangzhou have been transformed into futuristic metropolises within a few decades, building skyscrapers and entire cityscapes at a pace that Western nations simply cannot match. China's military strength has grown at a staggering rate, with its defense budget now second only to the United States. The People's Liberation Army Navy is already the largest in the world in terms of fleet size, while its investments in hypersonic missiles, space-based warfare, and artificial intelligence-driven military technology outpace many Western nations. China's rapid modernization of its air force, nuclear arsenal, and cyber warfare capabilities has made it the dominant military force in Asia, far outclassing regional competitors like Japan, India, and South Korea. Perhaps the most overlooked danger in underestimating China is its silent takeover of Eurasia. Unlike the United States, which spent trillions on failed wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, China has focused on long-term geopolitical dominance through economic influence. In 2013, President Xi Jinping launched the Belt and Road Initiative, BR, a trillion-dollar infrastructure project that is 10 times the size of the Marshall Plan. This initiative connects Asia, Africa, and Europe with railways, highways, ports, and pipelines, creating a China-centric trade network that erodes U.S. influence. From Sri Lanka to Greece, from Pakistan to Germany, Beijing has secured control over major global trade routes. Meanwhile, the U.S. military struggled to maintain its foothold in Eurasia, culminating in the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. As American forces retreated, China moved in, securing economic deals with Central Asian nations and strengthening its influence in the region. The tectonic shifts in global power are already unfolding. While the U.S. remains distracted by internal political turmoil, economic instability, and military overspending, China is steadily expanding its dominance. If current trends continue, China will not just surpass the United States, it will dictate the future of global economics, technology, and military power. The world is witnessing the dawn of the Chinese century. The only question that remains is whether the West will wake up to this reality in time or be left behind as a relic of the past. Thank you all for watching. If you found this deep dive into China's rising global influence insightful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content on world politics, economics, and technological advancements.